The other day I was in the garden section of a store and I saw this couple, looking confused and looking at all the different chemicals and all the different sizes and all the different methods that you could apply them, and they looked very confused. Doesn't surprise me. It can be confusing. What I've done is I've just brought a selection of what you might be able to use or see in your garden store, which can help you decide what you might want to purchase. Of course, with all chemicals, and this is even with household chemicals, not just pesticides or insecticides and fungicides and lawn products. Really doesn't matter. If it's a chemical you might consider rather inexpensive, these last a long time. They're respirators. They're great for paints, aerosols. You have to get the right one, but they really work well. Protective eyewear, important. Protective gloves. So if you're going to be mixing your own chemical, or, the other day I had an aerosol. It was an aerosol for fleas for pets. And when I went to hit the spray leaked back and got all over my hands. It was a faulty aerosol. So gloves work well. And there's one other thing you might consider that we sometimes do. We have something that says weed killer. So I'm going to label this so I know that I have a weed killer. Because if you have a weed killer sprayer and you go to spray your vegetables and you might have a crop like tomatoes, you might injure the tomatoes. So I'm going to label this vegetables. And then if I have another one, flowers and shrubs, that's different than vegetables. Again, you don't want to have leftover sprays, but you want to know what you sprayed, because we're all trying to be environmentally conscious today, and we really want to know what we're using on our own in our own gardens. Let me show you what some of these sprayers will do. We've all heard about neem oils and neem sprays. This is a ready to spray. So if you've got a couple plants, maybe 5, 10 plants, this is great because you can use this. You got 5 rose plants, you can use this. This, I call it hose end. It hooks to your hose, and if you have diseases, let's say on a daily or something, you just go through, and they're designed with the perfect amount of product that you need. And this is a fungicide, and it controls the problem that you might have. Hook it up, automatically mixes here. You don't have to mix anything. You just have to be able to reach it with a garden hose. And there are some other things that you can use in the garden. One of them is, let's make believe we have some tomatoes. This also could be used for shrubs. And if you look at the ground, this is what is called a flower nozzle. So it applies a circular amount of product. One thing I didn't mention, we'll follow up in another tip, is you have to read the label. Most important thing, read the label so you know what you're doing. Then we have weed killers. Now, just not to confuse everybody, you may find, let's say it's, the brand name is called Better Spray. And what a lot of companies are doing is Better Spray used to be made up of one product, maybe 10 years ago, 15 years ago. But Better Spray is a nationally or worldwide known brand. So Better Spray is just the brand where it used to be a product. And Better Spray may be a total weed killer, may be a weed killer for lawns, it may be just a weed killer for dandelions, or it might be a fungicide, so you got to read the label. don't get and make a mistake by thinking a certain name means something unless you read the label. I like backpack. They're the best. I can handle 5 gallons. This is, you know, if you've got a big area, let's say you've got an orchard or trees, and this is just for weed killers, and it's got what is known as a weed killer nozzle. Weed killer nozzle is different than a flower nozzle. It's a flat nozzle because a lot of weed killers, you have to put so much down per square foot. That's where the label gets confusing. So you just come in here, and if you look at the ground, it does a fan like that, thoroughly coats weeds. I'm Mark Viette, trying to make applying chemicals more simple. Join me next time in the garden.
For more garden tips, go to inthegardenradio.com.